Welcome to level 1 of 100 dark philosophies of life. This one is called the weight of being. Imagine waking each morning, not because you chose to exist, but because existence was forced upon you. You never consented to life. You were simply thrown into it. Philosophers call this the burden of being. The terror here is simple. If you never chose life, do you truly own it? If you continue living only because survival is instinct, then perhaps you are nothing more than a prisoner of biology. Some thinkers, like Sartre, argue that this weight is the starting point of freedom, but freedom itself may only be another chain, another illusion of choice, wrapped around the fact that you had no say in being here at all. This thought darkens when you realize every breath brings you closer to death, yet every heartbeat ties you tighter to life. You are caught between two inevitabilities, the pain of living and the certainty of dying. And maybe, just maybe, philosophy's cruelest joke is that there may never be a reason for either. Welcome to level 2. This one is called the silent universe. For centuries, humanity has stared at the stars, hoping for a voice to answer back, yet the cosmos is silent. This is known as the Fermi paradox. If life is so vast, why have we never heard from anyone? The silence raises a darker possibility. Maybe there is no one else. Maybe consciousness is a cosmic accident, and we are alone in the dark, waiting for meaning, where there is none. The silence doesn't only stretch outward into space, it stretches inward too. No matter how deeply you scream into your own life, the universe gives no answer. Every decision, every dream, every love, swallowed by silence. If the cosmos is indifferent, then your story ends the same way as the stars, burned out, forgotten, and mute. The real terror is not that we're alone, but that no one ever cared to begin with. Welcome to level 3. This one is called the illusion of choice. You think you are free, you think you choose, but philosophers and scientists alike whisper another truth. Every thought, every action, every choice you make is the product of causes before your DNA, your upbringing, the temperature of the room, the chemical surge in your brain, all shape what you call your will. If every choice is caused, then what is free will but a comforting myth? Worse still, if you truly had no freedom, then you were never responsible for who you are. But responsibility is what makes life feel meaningful. Without it, there is only the shadow of determinism, a script written before you were born, acted out until your death. And if life is already written, then your struggles, your victories, your dreams, all of them are illusions. You are not free. You never were. Welcome to level 4. This one is called the prison of time. Time feels like movement, but what if it's a cage? Past, present, and future may already exist, fixed like frames of a film reel. You only move because your mind experiences each frame in order. If this is true, then nothing ever changes. You are forever locked in a sequence you cannot escape. The life you will live, the death you will face, already etched into the structure of time. Worse, if time is unchanging, then even your suffering is eternal. Every heartbreak, every pain, every loss still exists somewhere in the real. You may have moved past it, but in time's prison, it is still happening, forever. The idea that you cannot escape your own timeline is enough to shatter even the strongest will. You are trapped, not just by death, but by every moment that came before. Welcome to level 5. This one is called the self that isn't there. You believe there is a you inside your head, a core, a soul, a constant identity. But philosophy, neuroscience, and Buddhism all whisper otherwise. The self is an illusion. What you call I is only a collection of thoughts, memories, and sensations stitched together by habit. Remove your memories, and you vanish. Alter your brain, and you change. If the self is nothing but a story your brain tells, then who is the narrator? And if there is no narrator, then who is living your life? The idea that there may be no you behind your eyes is one of philosophy's darkest insights. Perhaps you are not a soul, but a flicker of perception that never truly belonged to anyone. And one day, when the brain stops firing, the story ends, the illusion fades, and there is nothing left. Welcome to level 6. This one is called eternal oblivion. Death is feared for many reasons, but perhaps the darkest is not pain or punishment, but nothing. Imagine closing your eyes and never opening them again. Not darkness, not dreaming, not silence, just nothing, oblivion. If eternity exists, then this nothingness stretches forever, swallowing every moment of your life, as if it never happened. Some thinkers find comfort in this. No suffering, no regret, but the horror lies in realizing that you will not even exist to notice the nothingness. Your consciousness will vanish, and the universe will move on as though you were never there. The cruelest part is this: you cannot escape it. No matter how far science or spirit reaches, oblivion may be the final truth. Life in all its pain and beauty might lead only to nothing. Welcome to level 7. This one is called eternal recurrence. Nietzsche asked, what if you had to live your life over and over again in exactly the same way, forever? Every mistake, every regret, every heartbreak, repeated endlessly. No escape, no change. This is not heaven. This is not hell. It is repetition without meaning. The thought is horrifying because it removes the hope that mistakes can be undone or that life is a one-time test. Instead, every moment is chained to infinity. The question becomes, could you embrace it, or would the knowledge that you are doomed to repeat your suffering drive you to despair? Eternal recurrence is not a thought experiment of comfort. It is a mirror that asks if your life, as it is worth reliving forever. And most lives, when faced honestly, may not be.
Welcome to level 8. This one is called the absurd. Camus believed that life has no inherent meaning, yet humans cannot stop searching for it. This clash between our hunger for meaning and the silence of the universe is called the absurd. The absurd is terrifying because it suggests the universe does not care about our struggle. Every religion, every philosophy, every system may be nothing more than humanity's attempt to cover the emptiness. But the abyss remains. To live with the absurd is to realize that every answer you seek is a mask. You can rebel, you can ignore, you can despair, but you cannot escape. The absurd will always be there. A shadow on every dream, a laugh behind every hope. Meaning may not exist, and yet you keep searching. That is the tragedy of being human.
Welcome to level 9. This one is called the problem of other minds. You believe others are conscious like you. You assume their smiles are real, their feelings true. But philosophy asks, how do you know? You can never enter another's mind. You can never prove their consciousness. Everyone around you could be hollow. Machines of flesh, pretending to be alive. Worse, even those closest to you could be illusions. Their laughter, their love, their tears, only performances in a theater you will never escape. The terror deepens when you realize you may be utterly alone in awareness. Billions of bodies, one mind, yours, and when it ends, the play ends too. Welcome to level 10. This one is called the fragility of memory. Your entire identity is built on memory. Who you love, who you are, what you believe, all shaped by the past. But memory is fragile. Studies show it bends, distorts, even invents details. Each recollection is not a copy, but a reconstruction, which means the self you believe in is built on lies. Worse, memory can be erased entirely. Diseases like Alzheimer's peel away identity, leaving only a body without a self. If memory defines you, then you are always one accident away from vanishing while still alive. Perhaps you are not a person, but only a temporary collection of unstable fragments, and one day, those fragments will scatter, leaving nothing behind. Level 11, Moral Lux Nos. Welcome to Level 11 of 100 Dark Philosophies of Life. This one is called Moral Lux Nos. You want to be judged for your intentions and choices. You want fairness, yet much of who you are and what you do is set by luck. You did not pick your parents, your genetics, your century, your neighborhood, your childhood nutrition, your early teachers, your first opportunities, the random shocks that nudged you left instead of right. Two people make the same choice, but the world responds differently to each because of circumstances they never chose. One becomes a hero, one becomes a cautionary tale. Moral praise and blame pretend to float above chance, but chance runs underneath everything like a river. If character is shaped by causes you did not author, then even your goodwill was seeded by gifts you received without earning, and your failures, many were loaded before you arrived. The terror is not that there is no morality, but that morality cannot track reality cleanly. We punish and reward with a blindfold on. We claim merit where fortune smiled and guilt where misfortune pressed down. If you strip away luck, little remains to own. If you leave it in, justice feels like theater. You are squeezed between wanting a world where deeds matter and living in a world where the dice never stop rolling. The noose is this: the more honestly you see luck, the less cleanly you can judge. Yet society requires judgment to function. You must condemn and praise to live together, while knowing the scale is tilted by winds you cannot control. Level 12, the machinery of suffering. Welcome to Level 12. This one is called the machinery of suffering. Schopenhauer pictured life as a wheel that grinds. The organism wants, it reaches, it hungers. When it lacks, it suffers. When it gets, it feels brief relief, and then starts wanting again. Satisfaction is a pause between pains. The body is built to keep the wheel turning. Nerves bring signals of damage. Hormones push urges. Evolution selected for creatures who felt lack so strongly they could not rest until they chased relief. This design keeps lineages alive, but it also makes life feel like a machine that converts attention into ache. You can numb it with distraction, with work, with pleasure, with rituals and screens and noise. You can try to transcend it with meditation or ideals, but the wheel keeps turning in the background. Even joy can sharpen the blade, because joy reveals what could be lost. Love opens a new corridor of fear. Health opens a new corridor of dread. Success opens a new corridor of exposure. Pain sits behind the curtain of every good thing, waiting to pull the string. You are not failing when you hurt. You are performing exactly as designed. The darkest thought here is not that suffering happens, but that the system is tuned for it. Life is not broken, it is efficient. The animal that felt more lack survived more often. You inherited that calibration. It whispers through your days. Not yet, not enough, not safe. And even when it is enough, the wheel still spins, asking for more. Level 13, the hunger that never ends. Welcome to Level 13. This one is called the hunger that never ends. Desire promises a finish line. One more milestone, one more number, one more person, one more room, and then the mind will be quiet. But the finish line moves when you reach it. The relief is real and short. Then new desires rise from the foam. This treadmill is not a glitch. It is the operating system. The mind normalizes gains, recalibrates expectations, and protects motivation by withholding lasting peace. That is how you keep chasing. The price is a life spent leaning forward, rarely standing still. Even contentment can become a goal to chase, which ruins contentment. Desire also hides a second hook. The more precisely you imagine the reward, the more ways reality can disappoint it. A perfect picture creates perfect angles for disillusion. So the cycle continues. You imagine, you pursue, you adjust, you try again. When you step off the treadmill, boredom and emptiness wait like quiet predators. They push you back on. Some people try to beat the system by wanting less. Others try to pick better desires. Others try to witness desire without obeying. None of this breaks the structure. It only changes how it feels to be inside it. The terror is subtle. If the engine never stops, there is no final arrival. If there is no final arrival, the story never resolves. The credits do not roll. There is only motion. You become a corridor with no end, a series of necks that consume the present, until there is no present left. Level 14. The Void of Value. Welcome to Level 14. This one is called The Void of Value. You say some things are good and others bad. You feel it in your bones. Help is good. Harm is bad. Honesty over deceit. Care over cruelty. But when you ask where value lives, the answers thin out. Is good a property in the world, like mass and charge, or is it a projection of human preference, a glow we cast on events we like? If value is out there, you should be able to measure it with instruments. You cannot. If it is only in here, then meaning floats on appetite. Then a world with no creatures to prefer would be value empty. A universe of cold stars and rock would be perfectly fine to itself. That thought scrapes against your moral core. It makes goodness feel fragile. It makes evil feel like a weather pattern inside apes. Add to this the problem of disagreement. Cultures clash on what to honor and what to forbid, even within you. Values fight. Compassion tells you to help one person. Fairness tells you to treat all cases the same. Loyalty tells you to favor your own. There is no master key that unlocks every door without breaking another. The void is not a blank. It is a storm of conflicting lights with no sun behind them. You still must choose. You still must act, but you may never know whether your actions line up with anything deeper than coordinated instincts. That is the chill. You can be good with all your heart and still be nowhere anchored.
Level 15. The Weight of Infinite Oughts.
Welcome to Level 15. This one is called the Weight of Infinite Oughts. If one person drowning nearby creates a clear duty to help, what about 10 drowning far away? What about 1,000? What about millions who suffer quietly out of sight? Distance is morally irrelevant. Money travels, and time can be redirected. The principle scales. Your obligations balloon until they cover the earth. Every luxury becomes a decision not to relieve someone's pain. Every free hour becomes a choice against a stranger's life. The math is brutal because need is vast and your resources feel small, yet your resources are also large compared to someone with nothing. The demand rises like a tide. Live simply, give more, work longer, optimize impact, cut waste, sleep less. Then the tide says more. Even if you give almost everything remains undone. The horizon of ought never reaches you. It recedes as you walk. If you refuse the tide, you live with guilt. If you obey the tide, you drown. The terror is structural.
Moral insight expands your compassion faster than your capacity. Your circle gets bigger. Your body does not. You end up carrying a planet on a spine meant for one life. People retreat into rationalizations to survive. They narrow the circle, lower the bar, or pretend the math is wrong, but the math keeps whispering from the dark. There is always someone you could have saved with what you kept. Level 16. Meaning as a manufactured story. Welcome to level 16. This one is called meaning as a manufactured story. Humans are narrative creatures. You link events into a line, add causes and lessons, and call it your life. The story is not false. It is assembled. You highlight certain scenes and cut others. You assign motives after the fact. You cast yourself as a hero or a survivor or a builder, so the plot can hold. This stitching is how the mind tames chaos. But if meaning is made, not found, it can be unmade. A new lens can turn triumph into accident, duty into rationalization, love into attachment, and pain into noise. The same events support multiple interpretations, each changing what the life was. There is no final edit that is the truth. There are only more persuasive scripts. This is empowering when you need to heal. It is horrifying when you want foundations. If everything meaningful is a construction, then nothing meaningful is guaranteed. You must keep writing to keep standing. Stop writing, and the floor opens. The darkness here is not that stories are bad, it is that you cannot step outside story to verify which one is real. You move from frame to frame. Inside a lens you cannot remove without becoming blind. So you curate, you polish the parts that let you breathe. That is wise. It is also precarious. A single event can flip a genre. A single loss can change the theme. Your life is a draft until it ends, and the ending writes the beginning. Level 17. Love as algorithm. Welcome to level 17. This one is called Love as Algorithm. You want love to be transcendent, a meeting of souls beyond biology. Yet much of attachment can be traced to patterns. Proximity increases liking. Similarity eases friction. Novelty triggers dopamine. Oxytocin bonds pair attachment styles, echo childhood. Pheromones play quiet games. Even timing matters. We pick partners when our lives allow them. None of this empties love, but it takes away its purity. The feeling that destiny wrote your names together might be a summary of converging variables. You still ache for them when they are gone. You still change shape to fit beside them. You still feel a private world sparking in shared silence. But the algorithm never leaves. It runs underneath the poetry. Then there is the darker layer. Love exposes you to loss with perfect accuracy. The deeper you bond, the more finely the blade can cut. Love multiplies life's meaning and magnifies its risks. It is the best thing and the most dangerous, because it stores your heart in another body you cannot control. If love is algorithmic, we can be hacked by ads, by apps, by scripts that imitate intimacy. We can be nudged into loops that simulate connection without delivering care. The fear is not that love is fake. The fear is that love is real and programmable, and therefore vulnerable to those who know the code better than you do. You walk into the most beautiful room and hand someone the keys to your alarms. Level 18. The ethics of non-birth. Welcome to level 18. This one is called the ethics of non-birth. Antinatalism argues that bringing a new person into existence is a harm because life guarantees suffering and offers benefits that only feel necessary once you exist. Before birth, there is no one to miss pleasure. After birth, there is someone to feel pain, fear, illness, loss, humiliation, grief. If you prevent a birth, no one is deprived. If you cause a birth, someone must carry the cost. Parents reply with meaning, love, growth, beauty, and the good they see in their children. The antinatalist replies that these goods are conditional and that the harms are not optional. You cannot ask a future person for consent. You choose on their behalf to place them in a game that ends in death and includes risks they cannot avoid. The horror of this view is that it turns the warmest act into a moral question with no easy escape. Every stroller becomes a philosophical claim. Every family dinner contains an argument. The idea does not demand extinction tomorrow. It demands honesty about the weight of creation. Some who accept the argument still choose life because love overrules logic in their bodies. Others choose not to create and live with the ache of that choice. Both carry pain. The point is not to condemn parents. It is to admit that making a person is not a neutral act. It is a roll of loaded dice with stakes that last an entire lifetime. Level 19. The Cage of the Gaze. Welcome to Level 19. This one is called The Cage of the Gaze. Sartre wrote about the look of the other. When you feel watched, you become an object to yourself. You see yourself as you imagine they see you. This gaze disciplines you. It makes you adjust, conceal, pose, perform. Modern life multiplies the gaze. Cameras, metrics, comments, likes, employer portals, social graphs. You live in a hall of mirrors where the self is constantly rendered for others and then consumed by you. The terror is how fast authenticity collapses into performance without your noticing. You start optimizing your feelings for legibility. You choose experiences that photograph well. You narrate life in captions before you live it. Even solitude becomes content in your head. Privacy shrinks, and with it, the room where self can grow without spectators. But you still need others to be real. Identity forms in relation, so you must live under eyes you cannot escape, while trying to keep a corner without windows. Some people answer with radical transparency. Others answer with masks. Many oscillate and get dizzy. The cage is not made of steel. It is made of attention. It rewards conformity and punishes deviation until even your resistance becomes a brand. To step outside the gaze, you need quiet, but quiet does not trend. The platform waits, and your hand twitches toward the door. Level 20. The Cemetery of Possible Lives. Welcome to Level 20. This one is called The Cemetery of Possible Lives. Every choice kills alternatives. Each path taken buries countless versions of you who might have been. The musician who became a nurse. The parent who became a traveler. The friend who became a stranger. The city you did not move to. The yes you did not say. At first this feels romantic. Many worlds within one. Then the weight settles. You are finite. You cannot resurrect those ghosts. Even if you pivot now, you only trade one set of graves for another. Regret is the feeling of walking through the cemetery at night, touching names on stones that read like your own. Some advise you to have no regrets, but that just means do not look too closely. Regret is a map of your values after you know more. It reveals what mattered. The terror is that wisdom often arrives after the window to act has closed. You learn too late which life you would have loved, and the door is locked from the other side. The kind response is to honor the dead paths. You pause at their markers and thank them for showing you what you want to protect now. You live this life with more care because you can feel the others watching. That does not erase the ache. It gives it a job. You carry the graveyard with you and try to build something kind beside it.
Alright, here come levels 21-30 in the same style, each about 300 words, calm but deeply unsettling.
Level 21. The Horizon that recedes. Welcome to Level 21 of 100 Dark Philosophies of Life. This one is called The Horizon That Recedes. Human life runs on goals. Finish school, find love, earn wealth, raise children, retire. The structure gives direction, but every horizon moves as you approach. The diploma leads to a job. The job leads to bills. The love leads to conflict. The child leads to worry. Retirement leads to decline. Every summit reveals another climb. You cannot stop moving forward, but you cannot arrive either. Even if you make it, the meaning fades once achieved. Your brain normalizes victories faster than you expect. What once glowed like salvation becomes background. This treadmill of becoming is what Kierkegaard called despair, the self always reaching beyond itself, but never resting in itself. The terror is that the chase is not a step toward fulfillment, but the structure of emptiness itself. You are always on the way. You will die on the way. The horizon never intends to let you catch it. Level 22. The shadow of comparison. Welcome to level 22. This one is called the shadow of comparison. Your worth feels internal, but it is tied to others. You measure your looks against their looks, your wealth against their wealth, your skills against their skills. Even when you try to avoid it, the mind ranks. Social media magnifies this ranking, offering an endless stream of curated peaks from other people's lives. You see their triumphs without their costs, their beauty without their scars, their possessions without their debts. You become a mirror of distortions. Worse still, comparison corrodes joy. A win feels smaller if someone else has more. A gain feels hollow if another gained faster. The shadow of comparison follows you into every room, whispering that someone is doing better, someone is happier, someone is further ahead. Even solitude is not safe, because the remembered images return like ghosts. The darkest truth is that comparison is not optional. It is built into social creatures. Escape requires isolation, and isolation brings its own pain. You are trapped between envy and loneliness, both hungry in their own way. Level 23. The trap of identity. Welcome to level 23. This one is called the trap of identity. You build a sense of who you are. You say, I am this profession, I am this nation, I am this belief, I am this role. These anchors provide stability in the storm, yet each is a cage. The more tightly you hold an identity, the more it limits you. You defend it when it is threatened. You avoid evidence that cracks it. You shrink your possibilities to protect it. Identity feels like freedom, but functions like a trap. And when identity is stripped away by loss of job, loss of health, loss of role, you may feel hollow. You may discover there was no core, only costumes worn for decades. The terror is that without identity, you dissolve. With identity, you are confined. Both paths carry fear, to be no one or to be only one. Either way, the self you cling to is fragile, and it can vanish overnight. Level 24, the collapse of progress. Welcome to level 24. This one is called the collapse of progress. Humanity clings to the belief in progress, that knowledge expands, technology improves, morality deepens, and the future will be better than the past. Yet history shows cycles of rise and fall. Civilizations flourish, then rot, then vanish. Rome collapsed, empires crumbled, libraries burned. Progress is not a staircase, it is a fragile balance beam. Climate shifts, wars, pandemics, corruption, all can reset the clock. The darkest thought is that even today's towering structures could be ruins tomorrow. Everything you depend on, electricity, medicine, food chains, could fracture. If progress is temporary, then all you cherish may be a brief flare before another long night. The comfort of we are moving forward dissolves into the fear that we are only circling waiting for collapse. And one day, someone will call this era the ancient past, puzzled at how it all slipped away. Level 25. The cost of consciousness. Welcome to level 25. This one is called the cost of consciousness. Awareness feels like a gift, but it carries a heavy toll. To be conscious is to know you will die. To be conscious is to feel pain, not just in the moment, but in imagination before it happens, and in memory after it ends. No animal suffers the way humans do, because no animal contemplates suffering with such depth. Consciousness amplifies torment by letting you relive it endlessly in thought. It also creates anxieties that may never materialize, yet still wound. The cost of higher thought is higher pain. You are cursed to watch your own decay, to anticipate the grief of others, to understand the magnitude of loss. You are a creature that can see your own ending while still alive. The irony is cruel. The more vividly you live, the more heavily you suffer. Perhaps the sharpest darkness is this: awareness is not a shield against pain. It is a multiplier of it. Level 26. The tyranny of the future. Welcome to level 26. This one is called the tyranny of the future. The future enslaves you. You sacrifice today's rest to prepare for tomorrow's security. You save money you may never spend. You hoard time as if you could bank it. You shape your present not for itself, but for a future self you will never truly meet. This habit makes survival possible, but robs existence of immediacy. The tyranny deepens when you realize the future does not exist. It is always a projection, an illusion written in the mind, yet you trade actual moments for imagined ones. You work for retirements that may dissolve in illness. You plan for contingencies that may never occur. You build an altar to an idol that does not exist outside thought. And when the future finally arrives, it arrives as the present, already slipping away as you grasp it. Life is spent preparing for life, until death cuts the plan short. Level 27. The indifference of nature. Welcome to level 27. This one is called the indifference of nature. You want the world to care. You want storms to spare you, diseases to skip you, accidents to show mercy. But nature does not care. It does not hate you. It does not love you. It simply moves according to blind laws. Earthquakes crack cities. Floods erase villages. Viruses bloom. Predators strike. None of it is aimed at you, and none of it spares you. The indifference of nature is scarier than malice, because you cannot reason with it, plead with it, or bargain with it. You can only endure or be destroyed. Human culture adds stories of fate, justice, or divine will to soothe this truth. But remove the stories, and the universe is simply machinery, vast, deaf, and blind. The terror is not that nature targets you, but that it never even noticed you were there. Level 28. The curse of knowing too much. Welcome to level 28. This one is called the curse of knowing too much. Knowledge expands, but peace shrinks with it. The more you learn about the fragility of life, the chaos of history, the violence of biology, the illusions of psychology, the more you see cracks in the comfort of ignorance. Children can believe the world is safe and simple. Adults know better. Philosophers know worst of all. Awareness reveals hidden costs, contradictions, and absurdities. It exposes the instability of meaning. You cannot unlearn truths, even if they poison comfort. Knowledge saves, but it also scars. It makes you watch systems collapse in slow motion, unable to turn away. The curse of knowledge is not just sorrow, but isolation. The deeper you see, the harder it becomes to share with those who prefer simpler visions. You become a stranger in your own tribe, haunted by truths others do not want. Level 29. The fragility of civilization. Welcome to level 29. This one is called the fragility of civilization. You live as if society is solid, food in markets, power in outlets, medicine in cabinets, but the system is fragile. Remove electricity for weeks, and cities starve. Cut fuel lines and economies freeze. A pandemic, a cyber attack, a war, and the fabric thins. Civilization looks like concrete, but behaves like glass. Each generation assumes stability, yet history is littered with collapses. Babylon, Maya, Rome, Angkor, all thought they would last. None did. Our networks are denser and more fragile than ever, meaning collapse could be swifter. The horror is realizing you rely on a fragile web you cannot control. You may fall with it, not because you failed, but because systems larger than you cracked. And even if collapse is rare, its shadow falls on every comfort you take for granted. Level 30. The lottery of birth. Welcome to level 30. This one is called the lottery of birth. You were born into a family, a culture, a body, a century, without choosing. These accidents determine much of your path, your health, your safety, your opportunities, your worldview. A child born into wealth sees different horizons than one born into war. A body without disease carries different burdens than one with. Yet we speak of merit, responsibility, and fairness as if the lottery were not decisive. Most suffering in life comes from circumstances no one chose. Most privilege comes the same way. The lottery exposes the lie of total self-authorship. It also exposes the cruelty of blame. The terror is that life's largest variables were rolled before you took your first breath. And no matter how far you run, you carry the ticket you were given. Level 31, the mirror of death. Welcome to level 31 of 100 dark philosophies of life. This one is called the mirror of death. Every day you live, death lives with you. It stands behind every decision, shaping your fears, your urgency, and your value. Without death, nothing would matter. But because of death, everything is fragile. Heidegger argued that to live authentically is to live with death in view. But few can look for long. Most bury it under work, noise, or hope. Yet it waits. The terror is not just the end itself, but the knowledge that it is always moving closer, a shadow growing longer. You carry a mirror you cannot put down, every heartbeat reflected back as a countdown. You cannot outrun it, you cannot trick it, and the more vividly you see it, the more each moment burns with both beauty and dread. Level 32. The inescapable path. Welcome to level 32. This one is called the inescapable past. You want to believe you can move on, yet the past lingers. Every mistake leaves residue. Every trauma reshapes your nervous system. Even forgotten events twist paths you cannot trace. The past is not gone. It is encoded in habits, scars, reflexes. You may forgive, but your body remembers. You may forget, but your choices bend around old patterns. Some philosophers argue the past is not behind you at all, but stitched into your present being. You are your history walking. The terror is realizing you never truly escape it. Every day, you carry ghosts who whisper through your actions. The past is not a place you left. It is a place you still live. Level 33. The weight of futility. Welcome to level 33. This one is called the weight of futility. You strive, you build, you chase goals, but step back far enough, and everything collapses into futility. In 1,000 years, who remembers your work? In 1,000,000, who remembers humanity? In billions, even the stars burn out, Every achievement shrinks into dust. Some thinkers call this perspective liberating. If nothing matters, you are free. But the darker response is despair. If nothing endures, why suffer the effort? The futility is not abstract. It lives in the gap between daily urgency and cosmic indifference. You feel the drive to make a mark, even while knowing all marks fade. You dig with your bare hands into sand that slides back as soon as you move. The horror is that futility and striving coexist, and you cannot abandon either without breaking. Level 34, the theater of suffering. Welcome to level 34. This one is called the theater of suffering. Life unfolds as a stage where pain is performed endlessly. Wars, poverty, cruelty, disasters. Each generation inherits the same tragedies with new costumes. You watch suffering in news feeds, films, even entertainment. You cry for strangers, then scroll to the next distraction. The philosopher asks, is suffering just spectacle? If compassion is temporary, if outrage is aesthetic, then perhaps the world's agony has become a play consumed by detached audiences. The darkest thought is that awareness does not stop the theater. It fuels it. The pain of others becomes background, normalized, even commodified. To witness suffering and return to comfort is to admit how easily the stage continues. The horror is that life may not only be suffering, but also watching others suffer as if it were a show. Level 35, the endless repetition of pain. Welcome to level 35. This one is called the endless repetition of pain. Generations change, but pain repeats. Wars fought, peace claimed, wars fought again. Technology shifts, yet inequality remains. Illnesses evolve, cures arrive, new illnesses replace them. Families fracture, mend, and fracture again. The cycle mocks progress. You imagine humanity climbing, but perhaps we only circle, painting the same patterns in different colors. The repetition is cruel because it erases the hope that pain was temporary. Every birth inherits the wheel. Every child becomes another soldier, another worker, another mourner. Your suffering is not unique. It is an echo of millions before you, millions after you. And if there is no escape from repetition, then pain is not an error. It is the blueprint. Level 36, the collapse of meaning in suffering. Welcome to level 36. This one is called the collapse of meaning in suffering. Religions and philosophies try to justify pain. It builds character, it teaches lessons, it earns redemption. But what if suffering has no meaning? What if agony is just agony? A child dying in famine does not become stronger. A life ended by disease does not achieve wisdom. A random accident does not teach justice. To strip suffering of meaning is to face it as raw, senseless experience. The terror lies in how unbearable this makes the world appear. Without meaning, suffering is not a test, but an abyss. And if suffering has no reason, then perhaps joy has no reason either. Both may just be sparks in a void that neither cares nor remembers. Level 37, the disappearance of the present. Welcome to level 37. This one is called the disappearance of the present. You try to live in the now, but the now is gone before you notice it. By the time you observe a moment, it is memory. The present cannot be held. It dissolves as soon as you turn your gaze toward it. This makes life feel like a shadow you can never touch. You live in memory of what just happened, an anticipation of what may happen, but never in the thing itself. The present is an illusion, a thin surface, stretched over past and future. If you can never live in the present, then when do you live? The horror is realizing you are always missing your own life by a fraction of a second. Existence itself slips away faster than you can experience it. Level 38, the prison of conscious isolation. Welcome to level 38. This one is called the prison of conscious isolation. You can share words, gestures, art, but never consciousness. No one can step inside your mind. No one can feel your exact pain, your exact joy. Even the closest bond is an approximation, a translation of inner worlds into clumsy signals. You are sealed inside your skull, watching a private film that no one else can see. Others have their own films, equally private. We call this connection, but it is really two prisons speaking through walls. The terror is that even in love, even in intimacy, you are alone. And when death comes, you vanish without anyone ever truly knowing what it was like to be you. Consciousness begins alone, ends alone, and no bridge is ever complete. Level 39, the trap of hope. Welcome to level 39. This one is called the trap of hope. Hope is praised as survival fuel. It keeps you moving, keeps you fighting. But hope is also a trap. It delays acceptance, prolongs suffering, and binds you to illusions. You hope for cures that never come, for reconciliations that never arrive, for futures that never materialize. Each hope keeps you waiting, even when the truth is already written. Some philosophers argue despair can be cleaner than false hope, because it allows you to see reality unmasked. But most cling to hope, even knowing it deceives. The terror is that hope may not save you, but only extend the agony of realizing salvation never comes. Hope is a rope. It can pull you forward or strangle you slowly. Level 40, the erasure of the self in death.
Welcome to level 40. This one is called the erasure of the self in death. Death is not only the end of experience, it is the deletion of identity. Everything you built, your memories, your loves, your achievements, your dreams, vanishes with you. The world continues, but the self that carried those meanings is gone. You may leave artifacts, words, legacies, but they are not you. They are echoes stripped of consciousness. The true self, the one that felt, hoped, feared, is erased. The terror lies not only in ceasing to exist, but in realizing that existence was the only place anything mattered. Once erased, the story is not just unfinished. It is as if the story was never told at all.
Level 41, the tyranny of memory. Welcome to level 41 of 100 dark philosophies of life. This one is called the tyranny of memory. Memory is supposed to preserve you, but it can also chain you. A single humiliation can replay for decades. A single mistake can echo in your mind as if it just happened. Memory drags the past into the present, forcing you to relive pain you no longer endure physically, but cannot escape mentally. Worse still, memory is selective. You may forget joys faster than losses. You may remember shame sharper than love. The imbalance tilts life toward regret. Try to erase it, and you erase yourself, because memory is identity. Try to carry it, and it weighs every step. You cannot choose which scenes stay. They haunt uninvited, demanding attention in the middle of sleep, work, or silence. Memory promises continuity, but often delivers torment. The darkest truth. The past may be over, but your mind can keep you prisoner there forever. Level 42, the collapse of language. Welcome to level 42. This one is called the collapse of language. Every thought you share must pass through words, yet words are clumsy. They flatten feelings, distort nuance, misrepresent depth. You say love, but what you feel is oceans larger. You say pain, but the word cannot contain the ache. You hope others understand, but they receive only fragments. Meaning collapses in translation. The terror is that all communication is approximation. Your deepest self may never be spoken, never be known. Even your own thoughts are built on words you did not invent, shaped by cultures you did not choose. The mind itself speaks in borrowed terms. Perhaps there is no way out. Perhaps your most authentic self is forever lost between what you feel and what you can say. Level 43, the fragility of sanity. Welcome to level 43. This one is called the fragility of sanity. You live as if your mind is stable, but it hangs by threads. A chemical imbalance, a trauma, a sleepless night, and your sense of reality can warp. Hallucinations, paranoia, breakdowns lurk closer than you admit. Sanity is not a fortress. It is a tent in a storm. Worse, once sanity cracks, you may not know it has. The insane rarely feel insane. You could be living in distortions already, unable to detect them. The fragility of sanity reveals how little control you have over your most precious possession, the mind itself. It can dissolve without warning, leaving you stranded inside a distorted world that feels real only to you. That is the horror. You can lose reality while still trapped inside it.
Level 44.
The terror of infinity. Welcome to level 44. This one is called the terror of infinity. Infinity seems abstract, but it swallows meaning. If time is infinite, then every event, every life, every pain repeats endlessly. If space is infinite, then there are endless copies of you living every possible variation of your life, including worse ones, suffering without end. Infinity dilutes value. If everything happens infinitely, nothing is unique. Your joys, your choices, your struggles exist in countless versions. You are not one of a kind. You are one of uncountable. The terror is that infinity makes individuality meaningless. You are just another echo in a hall that never ends. The mind cannot grasp it, but it also cannot escape it, because infinity may be the very fabric of reality. Level 45. The Mask of Morality. Welcome to level 45. This one is called the Mask of Morality. We tell ourselves we act from principle, kindness, justice, honesty. Yet psychology shows much morality is mask. We help when it benefits reputation, when it secures alliances, when it avoids punishment. Even generosity often hides self-interest. True altruism may be rare, if it exists at all. This mask comforts us, but it also deceives. If morality is a strategy, not a truth, then our highest ideals are costumes for survival. The horror is not just that we deceive others, but that we deceive ourselves. We tell noble stories to cover instincts. We believe we are good while acting out of fear, greed, or vanity. Morality becomes theater, and we are both the actors and the audience, applauding our own performance.
Level 46. The disappearance of privacy.
Welcome to level 46. This one is called the disappearance of privacy. Privacy feels natural, but it is vanishing. Cameras in streets, trackers in phones, algorithms recording searches, microphones listening in silence. Your life is archived by machines you cannot see, owned by companies you cannot touch. Even thoughts feel unsafe, because every desire you search is stored, every secret message copied, every click logged. You are mapped into data profiles more accurate than what you admit to yourself. The terror is not just exposure, but permanence. What you write today may haunt you decades later. The self becomes transparent while power remains opaque. Privacy is the room where the soul breathes. When it collapses, you may still live, but never alone. Level 47. The tyranny of the body. Welcome to level 47. This one is called the tyranny of the body. You think of yourself as a mind, but the body rules. Hunger dictates mood. Hormones shape desire. Fatigue clouds judgment. Illness erases willpower. You cannot transcend flesh. You are bound to it. The mind rides the body like a fragile passenger, pretending to steer while carried by instincts millions of years old. You may dream of immortality, but the body decays. You may pursue ideals, but the body interrupts with needs. In truth, you are not a free soul. You are a biological system executing survival codes. The terror is realizing your noblest dreams, your highest values, your deepest loves are all filtered through meat that demands to eat, to mate, to sleep, and finally to rot.
Level 48. The silence after you.
Welcome to level 48. This one is called the silence after you. You live as if your death will leave a trace in memory, in legacy, in family. But the silence comes quickly. Within a generation or two, your name fades from daily speech. Within centuries, you vanish from records. Within millennia, even monuments collapse. Even the greatest emperors are dust in forgotten ruins. You may believe you matter because you feel yourself intensely now. But after you, the silence is total. The world does not grieve forever. It replaces you with new voices, new concerns. The horror is that your story feels infinite from within, but from without, it is erased almost instantly. Death ends your life. Silence erases your place in life itself. Level 49, the inescapable cycle of violence. Welcome to level 49. This one is called the inescapable cycle of violence. Humanity dreams of peace, but violence is etched into history. Scarcity, fear, power, revenge, these forces renew conflict endlessly. Every war proclaims it will end wars. Every treaty is broken. Every peace is fragile. Even in families, in friendships, in daily life, conflict simmers. Violence is not only external, it is internal. Aggression lives in the brain, ready to rise under stress. The cycle repeats because it is not an accident. It is an inheritance. The horror is realizing peace may be a pause, not a destination. To be human is to live in a species that cannot escape its claws. And one day, those claws may end the species itself. Level 50. The collapse into nothing. Welcome to level 50. This one is called the collapse into nothing. Imagine the universe expanding until stars die, galaxies fade, and all heat evens out. This is the heat death, a cosmos of uniform emptiness. No light, no life, no memory. Everything collapses, not into fire, but into nothing. Your life, humanity's story, Earth's history, all swallowed by cold silence. Philosophy can grapple with death on the personal scale, but cosmic death erases even the meaning of meaning. Why build? Why love? Why hope? If the end is an infinite void where nothing remains, the terror is not simply dying, but that everything dies. Not just you, not just humanity, but the entire possibility of remembering that anything once existed at all. That's levels 40. Do you want me to continue rolling into levels 50? Level 51. The poverty of pleasure. Welcome to level 51 of 100 dark philosophies of life. This one is called the poverty of pleasure. Pleasure feels like reward, a signal of life's goodness, yet it is shallow and brief. Food tastes wonderful for minutes, then fades into fullness. Desire builds for weeks, but satisfaction lasts a moment. Even the most intense joys vanish as quickly as they arrive. The mind is built to chase them, but not to keep them. This poverty makes pleasure a trap. You invest vast energy for moments that slip away like smoke. Worse still, the memory of pleasure, fades faster than the memory of pain. The scales are uneven. Pleasure passes, pain lingers. You may live decades for a handful of moments you barely recall, and when you do recall them, the recalling is pale compared to the living. The darkest thought here is that pleasure was never meant to sustain you, only to trick you into survival. Level 52, the prison of habit. Welcome to level 52. This one is called the prison of habit. Habits shape your days. You brush your teeth, drink your coffee, scroll your phone, drive the same route. At first, habit feels like freedom, no effort, no decision. But over time, it shrinks your world into grooves. You stop noticing details. You stop questioning choices. You become a creature of repetition, living the same day dressed in different clothes. Change is hard because habit resists it. Even bad habits become chains. They comfort you in their predictability, even as they waste your years. The terror is realizing how much of life is not chosen, but automated. You may live decades on autopilot, dying before you ever truly lived awake.
Level 53. The meaningless universe.
Welcome to level 53. This one is called the meaningless universe. Human beings ache for meaning, but the universe offers none. Stars burn because physics dictates it. Planets orbit without intention. Life appeared by chance, evolved by selection, and struggles without purpose beyond survival. If there is meaning, it is only what humans project. This realization strips grandeur from existence. Everything you care for, love, hope, morality, may be sparks in a void that does not care. You may cling to religion or philosophy, but remove the scaffolding and only meaninglessness remains. The horror is that meaninglessness is not a nightmare scenario. It may be the default state. You are a candle in a wind that never asked for light. Level 54, the myth of progress.
Welcome to level 54.
This one is called the myth of progress. We believe humanity climbs upward. Science advances, morality evolves, comfort increases. Yet progress is fragile. Each gain creates new dangers. Technology cures diseases, but invents weapons. Industry feeds billions, but poisons ecosystems. The arc is not clean. For every leap forward, shadows lengthen. Progress is not guaranteed. It is a fragile story we tell ourselves. Collapse may undo centuries in a single decade. The terror is that there may be no upward slope, only temporary rises before inevitable falls. Perhaps history is not a ladder, but a wheel spinning through cycles of creation and destruction, while we comfort ourselves with myths of ascent. Level 55, the tyranny of desire.
Welcome to level 55. This one is called the tyranny of desire. Desire drives you from birth to death. You want food, love, safety, recognition, comfort. Fulfill one, and another rises. Fulfill them all, and still you want. The tyranny lies in the fact that desire never ends. Even the monk renouncing desire does so out of desire for peace. The system is self-feeding. You are not free to stop desiring. The brain is wired to reach, grasp, hunger. This makes life feel less like freedom and more like servitude. You are enslaved not by masters, but by the endless appetite of your own mind. Even joy is tainted, because joy only opens new hungers. Desire is both the spark of living and the whip that drives you to exhaustion.
Level 56, the cruelty of time.
Welcome to level 56. This one is called the cruelty of time. Time heals, people say, but time also destroys. It erases faces you loved, weakens bodies you cherished, steals skills you built. Time carries everything away, slowly but without mercy. The cruelty is not sudden, it is relentless. You wake each day older, closer to decay. Children become strangers, strength becomes frailty.
Memory becomes fog. Time makes every joy temporary and every life finite. Even mountains crumble under its weight. You may treasure the present, but time already drags it into the past as you speak. Time is not a healer. It is an executioner with infinite patience. Level 57, the absurdity of freedom. Welcome to level 57. This one is called the absurdity of freedom. Freedom sounds like a gift, but it is also a burden. Sartre called it condemned to be free. You must choose endlessly, and you cannot avoid it. Even not choosing is a choice. Every path you take closes infinite others. Freedom does not liberate. It condemns you to responsibility for every outcome. This weight becomes absurd when paired with ignorance. You must choose, but you can never know fully what you are choosing between. You are forced to act in a fog, accountable for consequences you cannot foresee. The terror is that freedom is not escape, but obligation. You are sentenced to be responsible for a life you never asked to live. Level 58. The pain of empathy. Welcome to level 58. This one is called the pain of empathy. Empathy lets you share another's joy, but it also opens you to their suffering. Every time you feel compassion, you inherit pain not originally yours. The more you care, the more you hurt. In a world filled with endless suffering, empathy becomes a wound that never heals. To do deeply is to be cut deeply by every tragedy you witness. Some retreat into numbness, but numbness kills connection. Others stay open and bleed. The horror is that empathy, the quality that makes us most human, also ensures we carry more pain than one life alone could give. Level 59, the impossibility of justice. Welcome to level 59. This one is called the impossibility of justice. We build laws, courts, systems to deliver fairness, yet justice always slips. Crimes go unpunished. Innocents are condemned. Wealth buys advantage. Power distorts outcomes. Even when justice is served, it cannot undo harm. No punishment resurrects the dead. No trial erases trauma. Justice is an ideal the world cannot hold. The terror is realizing the systems we trust may only be performances, appearances of fairness masking chaos. True justice, complete and pure, may be impossible, and without it, morality feels like a promise that no one can keep. Level 60, the death of the sun. Welcome to level 60. This one is called the death of the sun. Every life on earth depends on the sun. It is warmth, light, energy, survival, but the sun will die. Slowly, it will expand into a red giant, boiling oceans, burning skies, swallowing earth. The planet that carried every story, every love, every life will be ash. Nothing you build, no memory, no trace of humanity can survive that fire. Even before the final collapse, life will end in waves of extinction as the sun changes. The terror is that death is not only personal, it is planetary. Your story, humanity's story, Earth's story, all share the same end, consumed by the very star that gave them life. Level 61. The weight of regret. Welcome to level 61 of 100 dark philosophies of life. This one is called the weight of regret. Regret is the ghost of roads not taken. It follows you quietly, replaying decisions you cannot undo. Every choice becomes a tombstone for the alternatives you buried. Some regrets are small, words unspoken, risks avoided. Others are heavy, love lost, years wasted, trust broken. Regret corrodes because it combines the past, which cannot change, with imagination, which never rests. You replay events differently, building alternate lives that mock the one you live. The terror of regret is not only that you suffer it, but that it never fully leaves. You can forgive yourself, distract yourself, Bury yourself in work, but regret resurfaces in quiet hours, whispering, "You could have been different." Level 62. The fragility of love. Welcome to level 62. This one is called the fragility of love. Love feels eternal, but it is delicate. A misunderstanding, a betrayal, even time itself can erode it. Couples who once swore forever become strangers. Families fracture. Friendships fade into silence. Love depends on memory, trust, and presence. All fragile things. The horror is not just that love can vanish, but that it can vanish without reason, leaving you unsure if it was ever real. Love defines lives, yet it can dissolve like smoke. You build everything around it, only to watch it collapse in an instant. The fragility of love reveals how much you gamble every time you let someone close. Level 63. The inescapability of suffering.
Welcome to level 63. This one is called the inescapability of suffering. Buddhism teaches that life is suffering. In modern science agrees, to live is to ache. Hunger, pain, sickness, grief, all unavoidable. Even joy carries suffering. Because it ends, even health carries suffering. Because it decays. You may minimize it, delay it, numb it, but suffering waits. It is the cost of being alive. The horror is not only that suffering is universal, but that it is endless until death. You cannot choose life without choosing suffering. They are inseparable twins, born together, dying together. Every moment of pleasure arrives, holding hands with pain.
Level 64. The tyranny of responsibility.
Welcome to level 64. This one is called the tyranny of responsibility. To live is to be responsible for your actions, for others, for choices you never wanted to make. Parents carry children, children carry aging parents. Workers carry companies. Citizens carry societies. Responsibility multiplies until it consumes your life. Even in freedom, responsibility rules. Every choice you make shapes consequences, and those consequences weigh on you. Even refusing responsibility is a responsibility. The terror is that responsibility never ends. You can try to put it down, but guilt waits. You can carry it, but it breaks you slowly. Life is not just survival. It is a burden of endless obligation.
Level 65. The loss of innocence. Welcome to level 65. This one is called the loss of innocence. Childhood feels bright because it is wrapped in ignorance. You believe the world is safe, that adults are wise, that fairness exists. Slowly, reality strips these illusions away. You learn of betrayal, cruelty, corruption, randomness. Each revelation erodes innocence, replacing wonder with cynicism. You cannot unlearn these truths, nor return to innocence. Once lost, it never comes back. The horror is that living long enough ensures the destruction of the very purity that made life joyful. Every adult carries scars not only from pain, but from the death of illusions. To grow up is to die a little each day, inside. Level 66. The emptiness of success.
Welcome to level 66. This one is called the emptiness of success. Success is sold as salvation. Achieve this, reach that, and happiness will follow. Yet, those who reach their goals often find emptiness. The dream fulfilled reveals itself as hollow. The ladder climbed reveals no summit. Success does not end desire. It often magnifies it. Worse, success can isolate. Those who achieve become targets of envy, victims of loneliness, or prisoners of expectation. Success is not a cure, but a mask that hides dissatisfaction until it slips. The terror is that even winning the game does not free you. You may dedicate your life to reaching success, only to discover there was never treasure at the top.
Level 67. The curse of conscious time.
Welcome to level 67. This one is called the curse of conscious time. Animals live in the present, but humans know past and future. This knowledge is double-edged. You can plan, reflect, learn, but you can also regret, dread, and despair. The past haunts you. The future terrifies you. Consciousness stretches you across time until you are no longer here. You suffer memories that no longer exist and fears that may never exist, as if they were real. The curse is that the mind cannot rest in the now. It drags you into times that wound you without touching you. You are a ghost of what was and what will be, rarely alive in what is.
Level 68. The death of the individual.
Welcome to level 68. This one is called the death of the individual. You live believing you are unique, but society erases individuality. You are categorized, numbered, filed. You become data for governments, consumers for corporations, workers for industries. Your uniqueness is irrelevant to systems that reduce you to function. Worse, even your identity is shaped by mass culture. The music you like, the words you use, the roles you play are borrowed. Individuality is a story told in borrowed language. The horror is that when you die, society does not lose you. It replaces you instantly. The you cherished may never have been more than a pattern easily replicated, easily erased. Level 69. The endless uncertainty. Welcome to level 69. This one is called the endless uncertainty. You crave certainty. You want to know who to trust, what to believe, where to go. Yet certainty never comes. Every fact can be doubted, every truth overturned, every plan disrupted. Philosophers called this radical skepticism, the idea that you cannot truly know anything. The world is a fog where you guess your way forward, pretending you see more clearly than you do. The terror is not just doubt itself, but the realization that doubt never ends. Certainty is a dream. Life is lived in permanent uncertainty, even as you cling desperately to fragile beliefs. Level 70, the erasure of humanity. Welcome to level 70. This one is called the erasure of humanity. One day, humanity will vanish. Whether by war, disease, climate, or time, the species will end. Cities will crumble. Languages will die. Art will turn to dust. The billions who lived, loved, suffered, erased. The planet may go on, indifferent to our absence. The universe will not mourn. The terror is not only extinction, but the indifference of the cosmos to our story. Humanity, which once believed itself central, will pass without witness. All our triumphs and tragedies will dissolve into silence, as if they never mattered at all. Level 71, the illusion of control. Welcome to level 71 of 100 dark philosophies of life. This one is called the illusion of control. You like to believe you steer your life, that careful planning, discipline, and choice shape your path. Yet storms, accidents, illnesses, and random chance can undo everything in a single moment. Control is a story you tell to calm yourself against chaos. You may work for decades to build stability, only for fate to tear it down in seconds. Worse, most of your decisions are guided not by free will, but by unconscious impulses, cultural pressures, and circumstances you never picked. You are not steering the ship. You are carried by tides, winds, and currents larger than you. The horror is not just that you lack control, but that you never had it at all. Level 72, the deception of happiness. Welcome to level 72. This one is called the deception of happiness. Happiness feels like the ultimate goal, but it is elusive. When you seek it directly, it slips away. When you find it, it is brief. Worse, happiness often depends less on reality and more on comparison, expectation, and chemicals in your brain. You may live well and feel unhappy, or live poorly and feel content, depending on forces outside your control. The deception is that happiness looks like something to possess, but in truth, it is only a fleeting state, a byproduct of conditions you cannot hold forever. The terrors that the pursuit of happiness may condemn you to disappointment, because happiness was never designed to last. Level 73. The fear of irrelevance.
Welcome to level 73. This one is called the fear of irrelevance. You want to matter. You want your life to leave a mark, but the world is vast and indifferent. Most people are forgotten within a generation. Even famous names fade into obscurity. The works you build may crumble. The words you write may never be read. You may live an entire life and vanish without impact. The fear of irrelevance gnaws because it questions whether life has any value beyond the moment you live it. Perhaps relevance itself is an illusion, a comfort against the truth that existence is temporary and quickly erased. The horror is not only being forgotten, but realizing you may have never truly mattered at all.
Level 74. The burden of self-consciousness. Welcome to level 74. This one is called the burden of self-consciousness. Animals act without worrying how they appear. Humans suffer the constant awareness of being observed, judged, and evaluated. You carry a mirror in your mind, reflecting how others might see you. Every gesture, every word, every mistake plays back in imagined eyes. This burden shapes your choices, twisting them toward appearances rather than authenticity. You live not only your life, but the version others project onto you. The terror is that you may never meet your true self, because you are always performing for invisible audiences. You are both actor and prisoner, trapped in a play you cannot exit. Level 75. The corruption of power. Welcome to level 75. This one is called the corruption of power. Power promises security, influence, freedom, yet power corrupts. Those who gain it often twist, slowly or suddenly, until their humanity is consumed by greed and paranoia. Even the well-intentioned bend beneath its weight. History shows leaders who began with vision descending into cruelty. Power is addictive, demanding more and more until it isolates and destroys. The horror is that power is necessary to shape the world, but dangerous to anyone who holds it. And because it corrupts, those who rise often fall, dragging countless lives with them. The cycle repeats endlessly, ensuring that humanity is forever ruled by those compromised by the very thing they seek. Level 76. The tragedy of desire. Welcome to level 76. This one is called the tragedy of desire fulfilled. Desire gives life direction, but fulfillment often disappoints. The fantasy is brighter than the reality. You imagine how good it will feel, only to discover it's smaller, shorter, less satisfying than you dreamed. Fulfilled desires often reveal new voids. You win, but feel hollow. You achieve, but feel restless. What you thought would save you only shifts the hunger elsewhere. This is tragedy, because life is driven by desire, yet desire fulfilled betrays the dream. The terror is that you spend your life climbing mountains, only to find nothing at the top but another mountain. Level 77. The disappearance of one. Welcome to level 77. This one is called the disappearance of wonder. As a child, the world is magical. Every discovery glows. As an adult, repetition dulls the edges. The extraordinary becomes ordinary. The stars become physics. The rainbow becomes optics. The flower becomes biology, knowledge expands, but wonder shrinks. The more you explain, the less you feel awe. The world remains vast, but your eyes grow tired. The disappearance of wonder is not sudden, it is a slow erosion. You may not notice, until one day the things that once lifted your spirit now feel flat. The terror is that you may live long enough to lose the ability to be amazed, even by life itself. Level 78. The inevitability of betrayal.
Welcome to level 78. This one is called the inevitability of betrayal. Trust is the foundation of relationships, but betrayal waits inside it. Friends drift, lovers deceive, families wound. Even when betrayal is unintentional, it still cuts. To trust is to expose yourself to pain. Without trust, you are alone. With trust, you risk devastation. The horror is that betrayal is not rare, but inevitable. At some point, someone you love will fail you, whether by choice, by weakness, or simply by death. The very bond that makes life meaningful also guarantees the deepest wounds.
Level 79. The cycle of Welcome to level 79. This one is called the cycle of addiction. Addiction is not only drugs or alcohol, it is any repeated escape from pain. Work, screens, relationships, distractions, each promises relief. Each becomes habit. Each eventually consumes. Addiction thrives because life itself hurts. You seek comfort, and comfort becomes cage. The cycle is cruel. Relief leads to dependence. Dependence leads to suffering. Suffering demands relief. You spiral. The terror is that addiction is not the exception, but the rule. Everyone is addicted to something, because everyone is trying to ease the ache of being alive. The only difference is which chains we choose. Level 80. The collapse of trust in reality. Welcome to level 80. This one is called the collapse of trust in reality. You assume your senses reveal the world, but senses lie. The sky is not blue. The brain paints it. The table is not solid. Atoms swirl in empty space. Even time and space may be illusions. Frameworks your mind imposes. The world you live in may be nothing like the world that exists. If perception is always filtered, then reality is forever beyond reach. You may never know what is real, only what your brain tells you. The horror is that life may be lived entirely inside an interpretation, with truth forever sealed behind the curtain. Level 81. The burden of choice. Welcome to level 81 of 100 dark philosophies of life. This one is called the burden of choice. Choices define your path, yet every choice carries weight. Small ones accumulate unnoticed. Large ones carve permanent scars. Each decision closes infinite possibilities, leaving behind a graveyard of unlived lives. Freedom, once celebrated, becomes a torment, for with every option comes responsibility for consequences you cannot predict. To choose is to kill futures. To refuse is still to choose. The burden grows heavier with age, as regrets multiply, and the road behind you narrows. The terror is not only that choice defines you, but that it does so blindly. You walk forward, knowing only later what you have destroyed. Level 82. The Spectre of Age. Welcome to level 82. This one is called the Spectre of Aging. Aging is not sudden, it is a slow theft. First stamina fades, then strength, then memory, then identity itself. The mirror becomes a stranger. You feel young inside, but carry a body that betrays you. Society, too, shifts its gaze away from the old, as if invisibility were part of the process. Worse, aging is irreversible. No matter how you fight, decay always wins. Each year, take something you cannot recover. Aging is not preparation for death. It is a rehearsal, stripping you piece by piece, until only silence remains. Level 83, the tyranny of need. Welcome to level 83. This one is called the tyranny of need. Every living moment is shaped by need. You need air, water, food, shelter. Without them, you collapse quickly. Needs keep you tethered, always reaching, never free. Even when they are met, new needs rise. Status, recognition, meaning. To live is to serve needs endlessly. You may imagine yourself free, but the body demands and you obey. The terror is realizing you are not your own master, but a servant to conditions that never rest. The cage is not outside you, it is built into your very biology. Level 84, the illusion of permanence. Welcome to level 84. This one is called the illusion of permanence. Humans cling to permanence. Marriages, careers, homes, traditions. Yet everything is impermanent. Relationships end, jobs disappear, houses crumble, cultures vanish. Even the body you live in changes each moment, cells dying and renewing until you are not the same person you were a decade ago. Permanence is only a trick of perception. You think things last, but they are always dissolving. The horror is that permanence is the lie that comforts you against time's erosion. Strip away the illusion, and nothing holds. You are standing on sand, convincing yourself it is stone. Level 85, the shadow of guilt. Welcome to level 85. This one is called the shadow of guilt. Guilt is the shadow of conscience. It follows even when you try to escape. Mistakes linger long after they are forgiven. Replaying in the mind, guilt poisons joy, whispers during quiet moments, and stains identity. Sometimes it is deserved. Sometimes it is not. But either way, it grows heavier with time. Guilt is cruel because it pretends to be moral guidance. Yet often it only chains you to the past. You may atone, but the shadow remains. The terror is that guilt does not fade with death. It haunts life until the very end. Level 86, the tyranny of uncertainty. Welcome to level 86. This one is called the tyranny of uncertainty. You want clarity, to know what will happen, to predict outcomes, to trust decisions. Yet uncertainty is woven into existence. No matter how carefully you plan, chaos intrudes. Weather shifts, accidents happen, people change. The future is not just unknown, it is unknowable. You live suspended in uncertainty, pretending tomorrow will match your expectations, even as experience proves otherwise. The terror is that certainty is impossible. You act in the dark, guided only by fragile hope. Every step forward is blind, and the ground may collapse beneath you at any time. Level 87, the banality of evil. Welcome to level 87. This one is called the banality of evil. Evil is imagined as monstrous, but often it is ordinary. Bureaucrats stamping papers, workers following orders, neighbors staying silent. Atrocities are built not only by tyrants, but by ordinary people doing their jobs. The horror of the banality of evil is that anyone, including you, may participate without noticing. Evil does not always feel like evil when you are inside it. It feels like routine. History shows how quickly normal life can slide into horror, with ordinary people enabling it step by step. The terror is realizing how fragile your own morality may be under pressure. Level 88, the weight of helplessness. Welcome to level 88. This one is called the weight of helplessness. There are problems too vast for any one person to solve. Poverty, climate collapse, war, injustice. You can try, you can fight, but your effort feels like a drop in an endless ocean. The helplessness deepens when disasters strike close. A loved one dying, a friend in pain, a system too large to fight. You may want desperately to help, but find yourself powerless. Helplessness is heavier than failure, because failure implies you tried and could try again. Helplessness tells you there is no way at all. The horror is realizing how small you are in the face of life's storms. Level 89, the erosion of truth. Welcome to level 89. This one is called the erosion of truth. Once truth felt solid, facts, reality, shared understanding. Now truth erodes under waves of misinformation, propaganda, and endless opinions. Everyone lives in different realities, curated by algorithms and bias. Disagreement is not only about values, but about facts themselves. If truth cannot be trusted, then decisions collapse, trust collapses, society collapses. The erosion of truth makes life terrifying because it leaves no foundation. You cannot know what is real, only what is repeated. The world becomes a hall of mirrors, and you are lost inside reflections. Level 90, the silence of God. Welcome to level 90. This one is called the silence of God. For millennia, humans prayed for answers, for meaning, for comfort. Some claim to hear replies, but for most, the heavens remain silent. The silence raises a chilling question. What if there is no one listening? What if the prayers vanish into emptiness? Without divine presence, suffering becomes random, morality becomes human invention, and death becomes final. Faith can soothe, but silence persists. The horror is not just that God might not exist, but that if God does, God may not care. The silence itself becomes the loudest answer. Level 91, the weight of responsibility. Welcome to level 91 of 100 dark philosophies of life. This one is called the weight of responsibility for others. To love someone is to carry their fate. Parents live with the terror of a child's safety. Children carry the sorrow of aging parents. Partners carry the fragility of each other's lives. Every bond multiplies the burdens you already carry. You may think love adds joy, but it also adds responsibility you cannot escape. The horror is realizing that happiness for you means constant vulnerability to their suffering. You are chained not only to your own survival, but to the fragile lives of those you love most. Level 92, the horror of consciousness without end. Welcome to level 92. This one is called the horror of consciousness without end. Death frightens us because it ends consciousness, yet immortality may be worse. Imagine living forever, watching centuries dissolve, loved ones vanish, civilizations crumble. With no end, meaning collapses, pain stretches endlessly, boredom deepens, time itself becomes unbearable. Consciousness without end is not salvation, but prison. The terror is that immortality could be the cruelest fate of all. Not dying, but never being allowed to stop living. Level 93, the collapse of identity.
Welcome to level 93. This one is called the collapse of identity. You build your identity from memory, values, beliefs, yet each is fragile. Memory fades, values shift, beliefs crumble. You may look back on your younger self and see a stranger. If identity changes so easily, then who are you? Are you the child you once were, the person you are now, the one you will be tomorrow? If none remain constant, then perhaps identity is illusion. The terror is not only that you will die someday, but that the you try to protect may not exist even now.
Level 94, the tyranny of loneliness. Welcome to level 94. This one is called the tyranny of loneliness. Loneliness cuts deeper than hunger or pain. Humans are built to connect, but modern life often isolates. Crowded cities, yet silent apartments, thousands of online friends, yet no one to call in despair. Loneliness consumes the mind, worsening health, eroding sanity. Even surrounded by others, you may feel unseen. The terror is that loneliness is not rare, but widespread, a quiet epidemic hiding behind smiles and routines. To live is to risk being fundamentally alone, even in a world full of people. Level 95, the collapse of civilization's memory. Welcome to level 95. This one is called the collapse of civilization's memory. We preserve knowledge in books, servers, and monuments, but all are fragile. Libraries burn, servers crash, languages die. Civilizations forget more than they remember. Entire cultures have vanished, their wisdom irretrievable. The terror is realizing our current age will also be forgotten. One day, future beings may walk among ruins of cities, unable to decipher what we built or why. Everything we call progress could dissolve into myth. Civilization's memory is not permanent. It is a candle in a storm. Level 96, the prison of the body's decay. Welcome to level 96. This one is called the prison of the body's decay. You live in a body that weakens over time. Strength fades, joints ache, senses dull, illness strikes randomly, accidents break bones, diseases steal function. You may dream of freedom in spirit, but the body drags you down with its decay. You cannot escape it. Every desire, every dream must pass through its fragile vessel. The horror is not just that you die, but that you die slowly, piece by piece, trapped in a prison of failing flesh. Level 97, the futility of escape. Welcome to level 97. This one is called the futility of escape. You may try to escape life's pain with distraction, with substances, with dreams, with philosophy. Yet escape is always temporary. The morning comes, the body demands, the mind remembers. Even death, the ultimate escape, may not free you if consciousness endures. The terror is that there may be no true exit, only pauses, interludes, illusions. You cannot run far enough to leave yourself behind. Wherever you go, suffering waits. Escape itself may be the most seductive trap of all. Level 98, the weight of the unlived. Welcome to level 98. This one is called the weight of the unlived. You live one life, but you imagine thousands more. Careers never taken, loves never pursued, journeys never begun. Each possibility haunts you, whispering what might have been. This weight grows with age. As the doors close and the paths narrow, the unlived lives become ghosts, trailing behind you, multiplying regret. The terror is realizing you cannot live them all. You must abandon almost everything you could have been, and the abandonment never stops hurting. Level 99, the vanishing of humanity's story. Welcome to level 99. This one is called the vanishing of humanity's story. Even if humanity lasts for millennia, the universe will not keep its story. Stars will fade, planets will die, galaxies will scatter. The record of humanity, art, love, thought, existence, will vanish without witness. The story of all of us will dissolve as if it never happened. The terror is that everything humans ever achieved, every sacrifice, every joy, may one day be erased with no one left to remember. The final book will close, unread forever. Level 100, the final silence. Welcome to level 100. This one is called the final silence. At the end of all things, silence waits, not the silence of rest or peace, but absolute silence. No voices, no thoughts, no witnesses. The universe itself may fall into darkness and cold, with nothing to mark that it ever existed. The final silence swallows not only life, but memory, not only humanity, but meaning. All the questions, all the philosophies, all the struggles dissolve into nothing. The terror is that this silence may already be written, inevitable, unavoidable, and when it comes, there will be no one left to break it.